Good evening and welcome to a new edition of To The Point. This evening we'll be discussing a number of issues pertaining to this region, a number of boiling points. Where are we heading? With us this evening is a distinguished gentleman, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, former Vice Chairman of Al Wafd Party, among so many other hats. Pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for inviting me, appreciate it.
Let's start off with the good news. The good news locally is that Egypt its water plant in Bahr al-Bakr was recognized in the Guinness World Record for the size of that water treatment, the sludge, and the fact that it is operating, it's contributing to the ozone generation. I'm not technical, I know this is your field, so the fact that we are being recognized in the Guinness for something like this, and how is this water treatment plant going to affect Egypt?
Let me put it this way. The scenario now is that we cannot really afford wasting any water, full stop.
Yes.
And Bahr al-Bakr actually was a great waste of water. We used to discharge all the drainage water, which is Bahr al-Bakr is a drainage for agriculture and other things. So we used to discharge all this into Al-Manzala Lake, which used to pollute Al-Manzala, hurt the environment in Manzala, the natural life in Manzala was completely destroyed because we used to do this for so many decades. So today we have this great project actually, and we are utilizing this water properly, using it in developing a large area in Sinai. Bringing water from the motherland across the Suez Canal to Sinai itself, through a tunnel actually, adequate. This itself is a gigantic project. And I think with the amount of water going to Sinai, fresh water going to Sinai, we will see not less than 500,000 faddans being cultivated in Sinai. This will help create life in Sinai, construct villages, which is already undergoing right now, by the way. The investment in Sinai is huge. And I think within the next 5 years we will see a completely different Sinai. I think the Bahr al-Bakr water treatment facility is a landmark. The investment is huge, but nevertheless, though the investment is big, but as I said, this will give us part of the water that we require, because we still require a huge amount of water in our ambitious plans for development. And I think this will do like a miracle in Sinai.
Geopolitically, the miracle in Sinai, how will it affect security in Egypt? Because the fact that you're building, and this is one of the main things that President Sisi was really adamant on achieving, Sinai has to be built.
Right.
Some entities had ambitions with regards to Sinai, and it seems that we're standing, or we stood in that way, or we changed those ambitions. You said that it will contribute to Sinai.
Definitely.
How is that?
You see, geographically, when you look at the map of the Middle East Sinai is really the center of gravity for the Middle East. Of course, you know, there was a lot of ideas and plans from others to properly utilize Sinai for other purposes. But what's going on right now actually diffuses the dreams of others. You know, Sinai within the next 5 to 10 years will accommodate not less than 4 to 5 million. That will be the population of Sinai, working in various fields: agriculture, industry, technology, you know, oil projects. We have a university in Sharm el-Sheikh right now, and El Tour. The whole thing within a few years will be completely different. And we are bringing, though the Egyptians have excavated the Suez Canal to give the world this great waterway, but a lot of ideas came to the minds of others that Sinai could be annexed. Yes. You know, and you know, they had other plans for it. But so what's happening right now, we're proving that Sinai is definitely part of Egypt, and I hope very soon it will be an economical center for the Middle East. I think if we could attract some of the mega investors and banks worldwide to be located in Sinai, and you know, change the rules and the laws, it could allow you know, banks to come. We might even see an Egyptian Wall Street in Sinai. It will be like a free zone very soon, and it will attract a lot of investors. And this will itself annihilate you know, all the terrorist activities in the area.
Yes.
You know, also the army is doing a very good job in Sinai, because some of the projects in Sinai actually is supervised by the army.
Yes.
Like building new houses for the locals over there, our brothers in Sinai, and trying to you know, improve their living conditions, you know, allocating land for agriculture for them, in addition, of course, to tourism. This is itself, you know, and something that the Sinai will benefit from. So very soon we will see a different Sinai. Hopefully, after, you know, the famous bridge coming from Saudi Arabia to Sinai,
yes,
also this will actually add an economical you know, dimension to Sinai. Also, the agreement between Egypt and Jordan and Iraq definitely will go, you know, all the trade and, you know, all the economical activities will go through Sinai to connect Iraq to Egypt through Jordan and Sinai. So we will see a lot of activities very soon in Sinai. Also, we will see like a spider network of roads, actually highways and roads in Sinai, and this is the key to develop Sinai.
If we, since we started east, let's continue east, and our neighbor, Palestine. We have two issues. We have the issue of that the Palestinian rank and file are not working with the initiative that we proposed, basically to unify and reconcile the Palestinians so as to not give room or leeway for Israel to back out of any or use any means as an excuse to procrastinate any development in the peace process. How do you see the progression of that?
Well, the problem with the Palestinian issue is every couple of steps we achieve, we go back to square one again.
Yes.
You know, there is no really concrete steps have taken to resolve this problem. Basically, we still have a crack between the PLO and Hamas.
Yes.
Full stop. Unless the Palestinians themselves realize that the solution of the two states does not mean two Palestinian states. The states, it is in fact one Palestinian state against Israel. I think what's happening right now could lead to a very sound and lasting peace, providing the cooperation between Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq could lead to make the Palestinian state join this alignment, actually.
Yes.
And a lot of guarantees could be given to Israel that, you know, this will be an everlasting peace in the area. And I don't see really Palestinians standing on their own in front of the Israelis to achieve their dreams. I think still Egypt and Jordan could play a major role in giving assurances to Israel that no threats will come out of an independent and sovereign state of Palestine. Israel always claims that, you know, a threat could be imposed, you know, from forming a Palestinian state. I think with the environment now in the Middle East and everybody is going toward peace, I think our brothers in Palestine could actually join the group and settle their differences in Gaza and Area. And, you know, I think the Americans also have lost the interest of causing...
I was just going to ask you, what's the American role here? Because we notice withdrawal from Afghanistan, withdrawal from Iraq. It seems that the American presence in the region is diminishing slowly, or is it just...
well, the method that, or the style of running the show in the Middle East is definitely changing. The Americans are depending on the local differences between you know, the different fractions of in each country, like the Islamic terrorist groups. They're doing a fine job instead of you know, having any troops, American troops involved. As long as there is a turmoil in the Middle East, the area will require always a policeman, and this policeman could be Israel or the United States. But the Americans have changed their style. Even in Afghanistan, I think the Americans are utilizing the Islamic groups today to their benefit in you know, applying pressure over a new economical enemy. I'll call it an economical enemy, which is China. So the interest of the U.S. now is shifting toward the Far East. And the Middle East is taking care of its own in the fourth generation of war, actually. Everybody's fighting everybody in the Middle East, and the Israelis and the Americans are just watching the game, actually. But the Americans are no longer interested in participating physically in these dirty wars in the Middle East. So let's hope that the Arabs in the area will get wise very soon and wake up and try to settle their differences.
The situation in Lebanon, we've had elections last week. Lebanon is really suffering from severe economic difficulties, affecting even political stability. Will the new Lebanese government manage to regain the confidence of the Lebanese people and calm the situation and put forth a concrete reform plan to put Lebanon back on its feet?
We have to realize that this new government is not really is not coming out of an election box, a voting box. It's not. It's the President Aoun actually just nominated a prime minister who agreed to form a government. But again, I think there is, of course, instability in Lebanon, definitely. The absence of the Lebanese army, there is no longer a strong Lebanese army that can balance the presence of Hezbollah. Hezbollah is very much present on the stage in Lebanon, and politically and military, this is applying a lot of pressure over the political life in Lebanon, actually. Even though Lebanon have its own system of ruling between the Christians and the Muslims and the Sunnis and the Shias and everybody, but the political mass of the Hezbollah is applying pressure over everybody, and this will not allow Lebanon to come back to the normal Lebanon that we all knew some time ago. I think Lebanon requires a lot of help from the international community and from the Arab neighbors as well. I think also the situation in Syria is affecting very much Lebanon, and I think any settlement that will take place in Syria will definitely have a reaction on the political life in Lebanon.
Algeria. How do you expect things to progress there, taking into account Bourguiba's death and the level of instability on the ground?
Well, I think the Algerians are very capable of, regaining stability. Of course, late President Bourguiba was not in power when he died, so he's not really affecting the political life. His absence is not affecting the political life, and I think the changes in the area, due to the fact that also in Morocco the Islamic parties are not really a winning party right now. In Algeria also there is a the army managed to control the the terrorist attacks, and they regain stability. The Moroccans are, internationally, they're on, good terms with Europe, especially with Spain and France, and I think the bringing up of the Polisario issue is no longer a valid case, and I hope that the Algerians and the Moroccans will settle their differences very soon, and we will see the North Africa Al-Ittihad al-Maghribi revive again. Once Libya is back to stability, and Tunisia is regaining stability as well, I think the four countries will actually have to work together, because they will form a very strong economical body in the north of Africa.
You raised the issue of Libya. It is also felt that whenever tangible steps are taken in Libya, somehow we tend to regress. You take 10 steps forward and then you have to go a few steps back again. Will we see reunification of the Libyan rank and file? Will we see less foreign intervention so that the Libyans can get together and move forward?
Definitely, the foreign troops in Libya will have to withdraw sooner or later. But we have to realize also that the foreign troops in Libya are there because they have green light from a superpower. The Turks are there because though they are part of the NATO, and they couldn't really just mobilize to Libya without really consulting the superpower in the NATO, which is the US. So I think once the superpower decide that things in Libya are under control, let me put it this way: very soon there will be a conference that will discuss the oil and gas activities and concessions in Libya. Once this conference is done, you will see peace in Libya. I think the whole thing is economical, actually.
When you say oil and gas concessions, that's a very loaded word. What concessions are we expecting?
You see, a lot of people don't really realize that Libya is still a virgin country, though they are a major oil and gas producer. But it is still considered still a virgin country. We have a lot of exploration could go on in Libya, in the south and in the Mediterranean.
Yes.
I expect that the Libyans will be a major gas producer within the next 3-4 years. I think the Gulf of Sirte is the new surprise that everybody is after. We will see a lot of changes in the area because of that. Once gas production starts in Libya, this will definitely hurt the gas production and sales of the Russians to Europe.
Yes.
Because Libya will be able to export the gas to Italy in a cheaper way. And we have the Italian partner to the Libyan government, the Eni company, which is it's the biggest partner to the Libyan government in oil production. So you have the Russians are watching very carefully.
Will they, well, it's not a matter of allowing, but will Libya be permitted to get back on its feet, taking into account that it's a rich country in resources?
I think, yes, Libya will get back to stability on terms and conditions that the superpowers will agree on. The Libya that we all know of Gaddafi era is no longer acceptable to
Definitely.
the West. And the Libyans have a very good chance to have a democratic and at least they might have a federation between the three governors, the East, West, and South, as it used to be in the era of King Idris Sanusi. That was a confederation actually between the three governors. This will resolve the problem of dividing and splitting the income or the budget to develop these three areas, because at one time the Tripoli area was the favorite child to the government and all the investments were directed toward that. But I think in the future, after the elections of the 24th of December, we will see a completely different issue. The biggest task that will face anybody who rules Libya is the unification of the army. Unless the army is unified in one national army that have the job of defending the Libyan soil under the Libyan flag, we will always have a problem. Unless the Libyans realize this. Of course, the presence of the mercenaries is affecting the issue, because a lot of the mercenaries are benefiting from the hot situation between the army in the east, headed by General Haftar, who is actually on temporary leave right now, because he's going to probably run into in elections, for the presidency, and the army and the mercenary in the west. We will have to, play it by ears in Libya. I think nothing will happen till the 24th of December.
Tunisia. The foreign minister of Tunisia came out before the UN General Assembly and he clearly said what is causing the political crisis is the rival parties. Can the Tunisians get back to unity? Or are we going to see another tragic scenario in Tunisia?
I think the Tunisians are very cultured and they have a lot of experience. They cannot afford not to unify the country.
Yes.
Because Tunisia is not a wealthy country like its neighbors, actually. Unless they regain their unity and get together, I think the country will suffer tremendously, economically and politically. Democracy is the name of the game in Tunisia, actually. The Tunisians, as I said, they are, politically fully developed, and they know what is best for them. And I think the president of Tunisia will sooner or later call for elections very soon.
Sudan, Ethiopia and Sudan. Meddling that is really going to affect the southern part of the country. Are we expecting further disintegration in Sudan?
Well, I think Sudan also will have to, the people in Sudan are very keen in considering this transition period right now.
Yes.
You know, I think they're again aiming for democracy and freedom, equality. And the army is not imposing itself, but the army is doing its job actually in trying to protect the country from another takeover from Islamics or communists. Or so the coming 2 years, which is the remaining time for the transition period that was announced earlier, will be very important. The president and the prime minister are assuring everybody that there is no retreat. Democracy is our target, and also the Sudanese people are very cultured, and I think they will benefit from the Egyptian experience in developing the country, and we'll have to realize that any new threats to divide Sudan will really hurt Sudan. It's a killing to Sudan, actually.
Iran, the nuclear deal, lots of clashes. Iran is adamant on not moving with the deal. The US, Israel, and other players are aggressively pursuing Iran this time. Will Iran comply, or are we going to see an escalation?
It's a very hairy situation with Iran, and we have to realize from the beginning that Iran have this ambitious nuclear program, and even though that the US government have applied a lot of sanctions on Iran, but it is a very dim situation, because we have to realize that during the fall of the Soviet Union, 360 nuclear devices disappeared from the Soviet arsenal, nuclear arsenal. These devices are not used yet, but definitely they have fallen in somebody's hand. And I'm afraid that any escalation with Iran could have very negative implications on the situation in the area. I don't think that the US is playing a game wisely with Iran. Iran is seeking to be a superpower in the area, and during the coming era, if the US tries to actually abort the Iranian nuclear program, we might see a catastrophe in the Middle East. I don't think the situation with Iran is handled properly.
How will this affect the rest of it? Because Israel is escalating also this situation, and while the world is looking at Iran, other critical files, including the Palestinian file, quite frankly, is being ignored because we're all focusing on this so-called big monster, which works in the interests of Israel, quite frankly. How will this affect, should the situation escalate in Iran, how will it affect the rest of us here?
The whole area will actually pay if the things escalate and you know, a move from the U.S. is taken to, you know, attack, for instance,
Yes.
the nuclear plants and locations in Iran. Surprising, something very drastic could happen, because who said that the Iranians have not really smuggled some of the nuclear devices to the Middle East, as they were present in Yemen, they were present in Syria, they were present in the south of Lebanon, they were present in Iraq.
Yes.
They're all over. Who will guarantee that a tactical, strategic nuclear device was not smuggled through the tunnels that were found going to the heart of Israel? So I would be very careful. It's not a science fiction movie, but it is not a horror movie. It is actually the way that the Iranians think. They have their own way of thinking, actually, and I would be very careful in handling the situation with Iran, because escalating the conflict with Iran will not be to the benefit of world peace.
Iraq. October 10th, 25 million Iraqis
Will go to voting.
are eligible to go and participate in the elections. How will those elections move Iraq forward?
I think the Iraqis have, you know, gained the experience from the bitter time they've lived in the last 10 years, actually, or 15 years. They have over 1 million Iraqis have died. The country was destroyed. The freshwater irrigation water in the Deglan Furat is threatened. You know, they have, you know, a shortage in freshwater in both rivers. The whole situation is drastic. I think the Iraqis will have to, vote for the unity of the country, and they have a very wise president right now. Let's hope that the tribal and religious differences between the different factions in Iraq will not be the name of the game in the coming elections. It will be catastrophic to Iraq, actually.
Egypt has always played in the past. We were always playing a pivotal role. We're regaining that pivotal role again. What can Egypt, how do you see our role initially, and what can we do to ensure that we move out of the bottlenecks in the region that are really endangering peace, security, and disrupting stability?
You see, Egypt remarkably are handling their foreign policy right now with a lot of wisdom, actually. We're gaining a lot of respect. You know, the way we are handling our foreign policy is admirable, actually, by the international community. We do not rush to aggressions or violence. We use politics and peaceful methods to resolve the problems in the area. We got involved in Gaza,
Yes.
and hopefully, you know, this could lead to improve the environment, you know, between the Gaza and Ariha, and to enable Egypt to play a positive role with Israel. Egypt definitely have changed. We are, you know, we have a vision for the area. Hopefully, the wealth of the area will be utilized to the benefit of the people in the area.
Yes.
I think there is a lot of changes coming up. Hopefully, Qatar will give up on interfering in other countries, you know, political life, and investments will reveal. I think Qatar could play with their wealth a major role in developing the area. Kuwait also could help, you know, in developing, you know, the area. The Arabs have a lot of wealth, and I think if they get together and you know, utilize their disadvantage of having the you know, the finance, they could be a major player in Africa, which is, you know, a stage right now for a lot of countries like China, like Israel. But if the Arabs, once and for all, settle their disputes, Syria will go back to the Arab League, and you know, everybody will you know, realize that we wasted a great deal of time and a great deal of money that could have actually helped the people in the area to develop and prosper. It is a time for wisdom, and you know, and let's keep our fingers crossed. Maybe we have matured recently.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so.
Engineer Hassan Shabaan, thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to thank you, the viewers. Wish you a very pleasant evening and good night.